Good afternoon, everyone. Tractor Man 44 here. Um, here every afternoon, about this time in the wintertime, it's time to come in, relax, and pull your shoes off a little bit and enjoy the fire and maybe grab a cup of coffee or something like that and sit with a little lady and talk about the day's events. But occasionally, you got to continue doing a few things, and in order to keep you into the business of having a fire at night. And one of those things is to split a little bit of kindling. Um, I showed y'all a little while back, how I split wood with one hand, one-handed maul method. And I split kindling a little bit in the same fashion. It looks a little bit, wild and dangerous, and sometimes it actually is. I nick my finger every now and then, but it's okay. It's only blood, a little bit of skin. It usually grows back just about as good as what it was. But not everybody uses kindling. Some people use a blowtorch to light it off. Some people use cardboard. I've even seen some people claim that they throw a little bit of gas in and light it off, But at any rate, I'm also always selective about the type of wood that I use for kindling. And most of the time I use some pine, some dried pine, some old red cedar scraps, from the woodworking shop, and sometime western cedar. If I happen to have some old western cedar decking or something like that, I'll use that. It all splits really, really good. But I'll show you what I do. Before we get started, I'd kind of like to show y'all just a couple hatchets. Years and years ago, back in the Depression, things were pretty tough, and a lot of guys went about the business of trying to find work, by jumping railroad, freight trains and stuff like that up and down the railroad tracks. They called them hobos and stuff, but they also called them knights of the road. I think that's a little more endearing term, and that's what the old man always referred to them as, was knights of the road. Well, we had the Missouri Pacific go by the farm on one side, and we had the Frisco Railroad go by the other side, go around the other side of the farm, the old home place. But and we had these big old limestone cuts, right there behind the farmhouse. And these old hobos, they'd walk up and down the tracks and everything. And whenever it'd be a slow-moving train right around the switch there, in my little hometown, they'd jump on or jump off or whatever. Now, them old hobos, they had chalk markings on the sides of the rails, and there's a whole series of coded markings that they used. I've got an old uncle, I think, that's got a list of all those old markings. It's really, really interesting. They would put a different type of mark there if the person in the house near that mark would give you a little bit of food, if you did a little work for them. A lot of times they'd stop and split a little wood, or they might help with milking or something, or if you're doing something with cattle, they might help a little bit, and they had other markings, that said that ain't no free handouts here, don't bother stopping, But they always stopped by the old farm out there, and my dad, the old man, he knew a bunch of them. They were really prevalent, from the Great Depression all the way up until the mid-50s. They're really dwindling out by the time I came around. But I remember two in particular. One was Smoky Mountain Red. They all had names, like all those guys on YouTube. Like I'm Tractor Man 44. Well, if I'd have been a hobo, I'd have had my own name. Another one, Smoky Mountain Red was one, and another one was old Herkimer. And Herkimer was really well thought of by my grandfather. He was a really hard-working guy, and he actually built him a little shack. Just a little shanty on skids, about a 12-foot by 12-foot square with a metal roof and everything, and they called it the Herkimer shack. And they'd take the old tractor, or maybe it's still the team of horses and stuff, and they'd drug the old Herkimer shack on across the little creek there, over by the Frisco Railroad, and old Herkimer would live in that little shanty. But before they built him that little shack, he had a little cave over there, underneath them limestone bluffs, and he'd hole up in them in those caves. Well, I was over there one time. I probably wasn't. Well, I was going after the cows. I was probably about 9, 10, 11 years old or so, just a kid, and I was digging around in and around that little cave that was over there, Herkimer's old cave, and dadgum, I found an old hatchet. Well, I brought the hatchet home and showed it to the old man. The old man recognized it instantly. Here it is right here. The old man said, "Well, heck, man," he said, "that's Herkimer's hatchet there." He said, "I recognize that. I'd recognize that any place." So at any rate, I've had that old Herkimer's hatchet there. I've never used it for anything. It's got the old hand-hewed, I think it's hickory handle. The old boy just kind of took a piece of straight grain hickory and kind of split it out of there and whittled it down with his pocket knife, and that's what he had for handle. But I've never used it for anything. It's just that I've saved it for posterity, so to speak. Well, anyway, that's a story of Herkimer's hatchet. Um, then whenever I was a little boy, I started splitting kindling. I guess I was probably at least not a bit older than 7. And the old man had put a handle in a plumb hatchet, and he had it out there in the woodshed. He gave it to me years later, but he didn't give it to me whenever I was that age. But here's the old plumb hatchet with a handmade axe handle. Remember I told you about the splitting mauls? He liked them splitting mauls made out of sledgehammers because he could keep breaking that handle and keep sharpening up the and get more use out of them. Well, this is an old handmade actual hand axe or double bit axe handle, and it broke enough, you know, to where he whittled it plumb down and changed it into a hatchet handle for this old plumb. And as a matter of fact, you can still see right here at this finger and right here at this finger are two nails driven in and then sanded off flush, and that's exactly 6 inches in between them. What he did when this was in all his axe handles, he would mark off from the tip of the from the hatchet. He'd mark up 12 and 18, 24, and 30 inches so that he could walk down the log when we're making saw logs, and he'd just kind of hold his handle whatever length he want, mark it with the tip of the axe, and move on down 2 foot, 4 foot, 6 foot, 8 foot, and then he'd make a notch with the axe where we'd go ahead and make the cut. That's how he would measure log length, so he didn't cut them too short or too long, you know, for the mill. But at any rate, like I said, I've had this one. I've been using this since I was 7 years old, and yeah, I still currently use it out in my shop right now. I just went out and brought it in just so I could show y'all. And then this is the holy grail of hatchets. This is actually a Collins Red Seal hewing hatchet that belonged to my dad. He's got it in a nice leather pouch. Kept it out in the woodshed too, and it just razor sharp. It's got a nick or so in it now. I think I dropped it a time or two, but I've never really used it for anything. But it's a hewing hatchet. If you look, the back side of it is perfectly flush, and it's only sharpened on one side. That's for farming for your timbers, like you're building, you know, whatever you're building out of hewed timbers. You had your big broad axe, which was flat on the one side and sharpened bevel on the front. Then you had the fine tuning, you know, the finish finish work in the hewing hatchets, so to speak. Well, like I say, I was never allowed to use it. It sat there in the woodshed for all those years, and then I ended up with it, you know, after the old man passed. But at any rate, what I use inside here, this is, I don't even know where I picked it up, but I've had it for a long time. And Dad actually turned down a piece of oak on the lathe and got the rough diameter they wanted. And then he went ahead and shaped this and everything, and then made this little handle for it. And that would have been, my gosh, back in, we built the house in 1980, and I've been using that out here since probably 85, 86 or thereabouts. So that's about how long ago he put that handle in for me. But it's a miniature maul, or I guess it's a hand axe. I don't know what you would call it, but it's very much like the Norland, which is an old axe or an old axe manufacturing company. But I don't know that it is a Norland. I don't know. It just works real well. Like my mauls, I don't keep them very sharp at all because I do the splitting method, you know, like I show you, or I'm getting ready to show you anyway. So I don't really want it too sharp. The sharper it is, the more damage you can do if you do come in contact with your skin. But at any rate, we're going to go ahead and split a little bit of kindling. Sorry about the senseless diatribe there about the history of them hatchets, but you know, I find it interesting. I just hope maybe somebody else might too. I guess I better clarify about old Herkimer's hatchet there. They had long since quit coming around. You know, by the time I found that over there, it had probably been 4 or 5 years since any of them showed up. So it's not like I latched onto something. You know, it definitely was an abandoned hatchet. And like I say, the old man just told me go ahead and take it and keep it. It gets a little messy, but that's okay. That's what we got dust mops for. Sometimes they get a little bit big. I just pick it up and bust them again, you know, it ain't no big deal. You don't have to hit all that hard, especially when you got this this thin little 1/2 inch cedar. Like I say, there's a couple of knots in there and it makes it a little bit difficult. But if you tilt your hatch a little bit like that, go ahead and blow them things away from it, and if it does, away from you, and if it does come in contact with your skin, it'll have a tendency to kind of just kind of glance off and keep on going. Again, I don't like them razor sharp for this procedure. When the kids were little, we used to kind of make a game out of it. You know, I'd split kindling here, and then I'd stop splitting, and I could sit back and relax and watch the kids pick it all up and put them in the kindling box. I can't get them to do that anymore. They're too old. See, it doesn't really take all that much time, you know, to pop you out a couple of, you know, a pretty good pile of kindling, you know, what the heck. Fire just the way it is. Boy, when you get that straight grain cedar, though, it really pops out of there, boy. It really works well. Yeah, it looks like a pretty big mess, and it is, but it won't take hardly anything to clean it up. Has some of them knots, man, like I say. Here's a big old knot right there. I'll just bypass that one. Really like Western cedar. Western cedar, old deck boards. Man, that stuff ignites very, very well, splits wonderfully, almost never a knot. I got a couple lady friends here in town that every now and then I surprise them with a box of kindling. I just kind of take it and set it on their back porch. And they know I snuck in their yard and dropped it off. If you notice where my hand is, I don't have a piece of tape on this handle, but when the old man made this, there's a little bit of a swell spot right here, and that swell spot's wherever I hold it. You don't want to be using it like this here at all. You got no control of it whenever you're that close to your hands. Again, the old man always said, you hit where you look, boy. You don't look where you hit. And if you think about it, that actually means a lot. If you look where you hit, it's done too late for your movement, you know. So you want to look, locate where you want to hit, and you just want to pop it right off, just like that. I'm sure there isn't anybody out there thinking I'm going to cut my finger or anything like that, you know. Surely nobody would complain about the unsafeness of this technique. Like I said, you know, hey, it's my fingers, it's my hand. Oh, hey, here's a piece of pine. Wonder how that got in there. That's just white pine. That's always good, but it's not as good as red cedar. This little jagged kindling I'm splitting up now. This will get us by for over a month. Wad up a couple pieces of paper and about 6 or 8 pieces of kindling. And that's all you really need to get fire going, especially if you have good seasoned wood. Seasoned wood is the answer, and I don't mean just 1 year. I try to keep 3 years ahead, so we have some very, very, very dry wood. I don't have a moisture meter that works, I'd kind of like to check the moisture content, but it's going to be low. There's no doubt about it, it's going to be low. Wonder what this video is going to look like if I fast forward it. Here's a pretty good knot. I probably ain't going to split that. Yeah, that just gets culled off to the side. So most of the time, I say this will last about a month, and it will. It'll probably last longer than that. But most of the time, whenever I go to bed, if I don't go to bed till 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, by the time I get up at 5:30 or so, there's still coals in here anyway. So I'll just toss 3 or 4 pieces of this in on top of the coals, and then go ahead and put a piece of wood on top. And it'll go ahead and take off. So I don't have to use kindling, but sometimes, you know, a couple days in a row. But if anybody's had any concerns, we can take a look. I ain't got any blood yet. Well, I got blood, but it's on the inside. You know, I try to make reasonably informative videos, but sometimes, you know, you just got to have a little bit of fun, you know. Boy, that was perfect. That was a nice straight grain. Not a knot in that. Boy, that's almost a pleasure. That's not even work when you get them like that. And look at this guy here, how crazy it is. There's a knot down here at the bottom. So, yeah. That's the thing about cedar, man. It just, it's crazy. When you do it a lot like this, you kind of get to where you can just glance at the piece as you're picking it up, and you know what's going to happen, you know, if it's going to be a good splitter or not. I apologize for stretching it out too far or so long. I had no intention of it being such a long video, but I don't know. I just really like them old hatchets. Like talking about them hatchets. I've got several more that's got some stories to them down in the shed, and I got some of the old man's favorite old double bit axes and things like that too. Hope you enjoyed that. And like I said, all my blood's on the inside, man. I ain't got none leaking yet. So if there's any of them Safety Sallies out there, or safety Nazis that want to say how stupid I am and everything, you know, well, you know what, just keep that to yourself, because like I said before, I've been doing this for, I've been doing this now for 60 years, because I'm 67, and I know I started when I was 7 years old or so. Now, I ain't telling you I ain't cut my finger. I cut the heck out of my fingers before, you know, but you kind of learn, you know, how not to get them in the way. So, at any rate, I do hope you enjoyed the video. Before I head out, I think I'll show you my kindling box here. My wife has a dry sense of humor, I guess, occasionally. And so if you look really, really close, if you can zoom in on that, this is a dynamite box. American Explosives. It's a dynamite box. That's just kind of one of those little things that makes the wife smile, you know what I mean? Well, now that I got it all split, now I got to pick it up and put it in the dadgum kindling box. Don't worry, I'll fast forward through this. Kind of miss the kids doing this. This was always fun for them. At least I thought it was fun for them. All my kids eat with wood right now, so, well, my middle daughter doesn't yet, but that's only because I haven't installed her a wood burner down there yet. But in her last house, we had a wood stove in there for her. So at that point, all 3 of my kids did, and very shortly, all 3 of them will again. So a little bit of it rubbed off. So here you have it, fellas. Kindling box is reasonably full, kind of rounded up a little bit. Got all the debris swept up off the hearth, and got enough in a little ash shovel over there to start my first fire in the morning if there ain't no coals. So at any rate, I just looked back at the videos, and I think it was like less than 10 minutes to split the box of kindling that you've got there. So I'm done for today, man. I think the little lady wants me to eat some supper. God only knows what it's going to be, but I know it's going to be good no matter what. And this is Tractor Man 44, And I'm going to shut this one down. I am out of here.